I'm Troy Becker, brand manager for STX Lacrosse. Today I'll be taking you through Kyle Bernlohr's replica pocket. Kyle uses the Eclipse II and memory mesh goalie, and we'll be playing in the PLL this season. All right, so we have our mesh folded over, double knot on the end of our string. Make sure the string doesn't pop through, so we'll go down to the second sidewall hole, come through the outside, have that knot on the end, and we're actually gonna come through the second diamond of the mesh. So he actually will bunch this up and lock that to the sidewall instead of starting on the end. So we'll loop it once, pull it tight. We'll see that mesh kind of fold on itself in the middle. Loop it once again. And then one more time. Just make sure it doesn't pop through. So there we have our bunch. It's nice and tight. String's not gonna go anywhere. So we'll start on the top string. So just like every other top string, through the back of the plastic, through the front of the mesh, pull it tight, and then through the back of the mesh, through the front of the plastic, and pull it tight. We'll have that bridge in the middle, just like always, to make sure everything is nice and even. We're gonna do the same thing on the next one. So through the back, through the front of the mesh, pull it up, and then through the back of the mesh, through the front of the plastic, and again, pull it tight, bridge in the middle. So then moving on, we're actually gonna lock the middle bridge of these two diamonds onto that top string hole. So just like before, we'll go through the back and then through the front of the mesh, pull it tight. Instead of going through the same mesh hole, we're gonna go through the back of the next one and through the front and then down through the middle of the string. So like I said, we'll have that bridge in the mesh be between the two strings. So we're gonna do the same thing for the next one, the middle hole. So through the back, through the back of the diamond, the one that we ended on before. Again, we'll pull that to the middle and then go through the back of the next one, just like before, through the front of the head, and then down through the middle. There we go. And then same thing for the next one. So through the back, to the front of the mesh, pull that bridge over, back, front, and through the middle. That's gonna keep those top mesh holes nice and evenly spaced and tight across the top. Moving on, we'll go back to one piece of mesh per hole. So we'll go through like before. Top of the mesh stays in the middle. Through the mesh, through the front, and down. Again, through the plastic, through the front, through the mesh, plastic, and down. And once again, we'll bunch this last diamond up. So we'll go through the back of the second one, skip that top sidewall hole, and come through. You're gonna wanna loop it around, because like I said, we're bunching. So around that one, through the second one again. Like before, it'll fold once, twice, and then 3 times. You want to take your time, make sure you have all the slack out. Pull each string tightly, and then pull the last one tight. They should sit on top of each other when you're done. And then you want to tie off with a double knot. You're set. Start the sidewall. Once again, we'll have a double knot on the end of the string so it doesn't go through. We're going to skip the next sidewall hole, come down to the 4th. And like before, we're going to loop and wrap to help really lock that mesh to the head. So we'll go through once, like so. Through twice. Pull it tight. Since this one's a little bit smaller than the top one, you can probably only do it twice and be fine. So we'll do an SI. We'll come through the back of the mesh first, skip the next sidewall hole, through the outside of the plastic, and then up through the mesh. This will help create the channel. Pull that tight. Remember to stretch as you go. We'll do the same thing for the next one. So through the back, through the next sidewall hole, and up through the bottom once again. Again, pulling tight. Once more, through the back. Through the outside, and up to the bottom. And this one we'll do a 1 SI. So we'll go through the back of the first diamond, through the back of the second diamond, and then we're gonna skip that next hole, come down to the next one, and lock it in. So we'll come up through the bottom of that second diamond we went through and lock it down. That'll just allow this one to float a little bit on that string. Kyle likes a bit of a shifty pocket for a goalie. It's a nice deep bag. So we'll go through the back of the next one once again, through the outside and up as our last SI. And then we'll start to form the pocket. So he goes through the back of the next one, through the outside for a 1. So that 1 diamond will float on that string between. And then for the next one, he actually goes through the outside of the plastic and up like you were doing a 1, but through no part of the mesh. And then he goes through the back once again. And then he goes through the same hole. So we'll go through that same hole that we did before and do a 1. So that'll really lock that piece of mesh right onto that hole. We'll then continue with ones, so through the back and up, through the back of the plastic and out for a 1. Through the back once again, and down, through the outside of the plastic and up for another 1. And for this one, we'll go back to an SI. So we'll go through the back like before, through the outside of the plastic, and then up through that hole that we create between the mesh and the string. So an SI, just help lock that down. And then for the last one, he goes through the back of the next diamond, so it's actually the 11 diamond row instead of the 12. Through the outside of the hole and up. He then goes through the hole again and around, which really locks that mesh down, and then comes through the 12 diamond and through the bottom sidewall hole, like so. Then what you're gonna do is the same as before. You're gonna wrap it once again around, which really helps lock that mesh down, as you see, and then through the same sidewall hole coming out. So what he does at the bottom is he really just locks that mesh in, allows the pocket to bag out a little bit, control all the rebounds, and then we'll tie off with a double nut. There you have it. Same thing on the other side, speed through it, meet you at the bottom. So for the bottom string, we're gonna use a shooting string. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit better for rebound control, a little bit tougher, so you don't bust the string on the bottom. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come up through the bottom of the innermost bottom string hole on the right side. So you're gonna pull it up and you're actually gonna cross over to this side of the mesh. So you're gonna find where we tied off before. You're gonna go down to the next row of mesh, skip the first, skip the second, and come through the front of the third. And then you're gonna come back to this side, same thing, find where we tied off, skip the first, skip the second, and come through the back of the third. Make sure your string lies flat. And then same thing on this side, we're gonna come down through the top of the innermost on this side, pull the string through, give yourself a little bit of slack, but pull the string through and then tie a knot. So you're actually crossing in the middle. It just helps prevent the ball from going through. What we like to do is do the same thing again, but start on the next bottom string hole. So you're gonna be on the outermost one this time. And just as a bit of a reinforcement, come through the front of the next one. So you're staying on the same side this time, not crossing. Come through the second hole from the front, wrap around to the other side and go through the back of the second hole over here. It just allows for, like I said before, a little bit better rebound control, prevent the ball from going through the bottom, and you get a nice little cross and outline over here. and then once again, tie off. And leave yourself a little bit of slack, but make sure that knot is nice and tight. And there you go. For the shooting strings, we tied 2 together. Usually they're not long enough to go all the way across on a goalie head. So Kyle does 2 shooters and then 1 nylon up top. So we'll start on the 9th. Follow it across. Right here. Like I mentioned before, you'll probably have to tie 2 shooters together. Just like every other shooting string, we'll weave back and forth for one of them. Pull it tight when you get to the other side. And then for the other one, weave again, going under and over the existing string. Making sure all the bridges on the back of the mesh are covered with a shooter. Then when you get to the end, you want to make sure that you come between the mesh and the plastic and around the sidewall. Just make sure that you have something to latch onto. Kyle keeps his shooters pretty loose for the most part. So if you did them too tight, you might have to go back through and give a little extra slack. Pull it out so it lays flat. And then go ahead and tie off on the end. Like so. Same thing for the next row, so you're gonna skip that next row of diamond. Start on the same side. Like I mentioned before, 2 shooters tied together, and then we will weave back and forth, skipping that next row. Again, make sure all the bridges are covered in the back of the mesh. When you get to the end, just like before, you want to make sure we come through that little area between the mesh and the sidewall string. Making sure this is loose. This one a little too tight. And then tie off. For the top nylon, once again, we'll skip that next row, same as before. If you have a string that's long enough, that's great. You can just start on one side. If not, you can always tie 2 together like we did for the shooters. And then same process once again. Back and forth, all the way across. Kyle likes a bit of a lip off the top, so I'm gonna leave this a little bit looser. If you don't like that lip off the plastic, you can always tighten it up. And then once again, we'll come through that little area between the sidewall and the mesh. For the nylon, just make sure that it stays tight. I like to tie a knot like we usually do. Like always, and then just make sure it's not going anywhere. I like to wrap it around on itself, 2 strings at one time, and pull it up through the middle and pull it tight. There you have it.